So you're looking for the inside track, right? To get smart, but without getting totally swamped.
Mhm.
That's kind of the space we try to carve out here. And today, we're plunging into, well, a real head-turner from Watches and Wonders 2025.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The new Rolex Perpetual, 1908. Specifically, the one with this brand new solid gold Settimo bracelet.
Ah, right.
It definitely wasn't the land dweller getting all the initial buzz.
No, that was expected.
But this 1908, it's got people talking now.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how Rolex can still surprise us, isn't it?
Totally.
Just a couple years after they introduced the 1908 as like their modern take on elegant watchmaking.
Sort of Cellini's successor.
Kind of, yeah. And now they've presented it in this all gold configuration. It really makes you ask, what's the thinking behind this move towards a more formal look?
Exactly. So our deep dive today, the mission's pretty clear.
Right.
Let's really get under the skin of this Settimo bracelet. Figure out why it's generating so much interest. We've got a detailed review here, so let's start peeling back the layers.
Sounds good. Let's maybe begin with the name itself, 1908. It's not just a random number, is it? It's steeped in Rolex history.
That's right. Yeah, it's like a double whammy of heritage.
Mm-hmm.
First off, it commemorates 1931. That's the year Rolex unveiled the first automatic wristwatch with their perpetual rotor.
Right, the game changer.
The game changer, exactly. And then going even further back, it marks 1908. That's the year Hans Wilsdorf actually registered the name Rolex in Switzerland.
So that number carries some serious weight.
It really does.
And when you think about Rolex generally, I mean, most people immediately think sports watches, right?
So Mariner, Daytona.
Exactly. Robust, successful sports watches. So the 1908, especially like this, in solid gold, it signals a very deliberate move. Or maybe a broadening out.
Towards what? More traditional dress watches.
Yeah, a more refined dress watch aesthetic. Why now? That's one of the intriguing questions this release brings up.
It definitely makes you wonder about their strategy. And you see that elegant direction in the design choices too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
The review highlights elements that, echo those early Oyster Perpetuals from the 30s.
Like the small seconds.
Yeah, that classic small seconds subdial down at 6 o'clock. The Arabic numerals at 3, 9, and 12.
Mm-hmm. And the baton indices elsewhere.
Right, alongside those timeless baton indices. It's got a really distinctive, almost nostalgic feel to it.
And it's worth remembering the first versions of the 1908.
The leather strap ones.
Yeah, they came out with very classic white and black dials on leather, really emphasizing that elegant idea.
Mm-hmm.
Then we saw that kind of out-of-the-blue platinum edition last year.
Oh, yeah, the icy guilloche dial.
Exactly. Another step away from their more typical stuff.
That platinum one definitely threw a curveball.
Yeah.
But this year, the real conversation starter, at least in the 1908 family.
It's got to be the bracelet.
Without a doubt, that Settimo bracelet. The review we're looking at makes it clear that while the core elements, the case, the dial design, even the movement,
They're the same as the leather strap model.
right, they're consistent.
Yeah.
But this bracelet is the thing that truly transforms the watch. What was your first impression of it?
Detail. The level of detail in the construction. It's
Yeah.
solid gold, like you said. And it's assembled from 7 individual links across each segment.
7 links wide.
Yeah. And what immediately grabs you is the shape of these links. They're beautifully rounded, domed.
Right.
You can sort of see a resemblance to the Jubilee bracelet links, maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
But these are noticeably more petite, smaller.
And the way they connect, that's crucial. And the review really emphasizes this sort of staggered, articulated arrangement. It's not just a stiff band of gold. It's designed to be incredibly supple, to really, drape and move with your wrist.
Exactly. Fluidity, comfort, that articulation is key for wearability, especially with solid gold. But beyond just the construction, each tiny link is mirror polished, meticulously.
Okay.
The reviewer even uses the phrase dazzling light show.
Huh. You can picture that.
Yeah, you can just imagine how that catches even the slightest bit of light.
It paints a picture of something really luxurious, refined. The review also mentions this interesting duality. It calls it a vintage jewelry bracelet spirit, but also feels very en vogue.
Yeah, contemporary.
So it seems to be bridging a couple of different aesthetic worlds there.
And Rolex's attention to detail, well, it extends to the clasp, too. It's got a concealed folding crown clasp.
Ah, okay.
The reviewer praises the craftsmanship, says it's impeccable, very discreet. When it's closed, the only thing you see is that signature 5-pronged Rolex crown, applied gold.
Ah, very subtle, understated elegance.
Exactly. That's the idea.
That's the kind of quiet luxury you expect at this level, isn't it?
It is. And even when you open the clasp, the internal blades are also mirror polished.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's those almost hidden details that, contribute so much to the overall feeling of a high-end piece.
Definitely. Now, something else. The way the bracelet meets the case.
Ah, yes, the gap.
Yeah, there's a noticeable gap there. Not like, a totally flush connection you see on many modern watches. What's the thinking there, do you reckon?
Well, the review explains that this gap, it's intentional. It's a key part of achieving that old-school vintage feel.
Okay, makes sense.
They argue that an integrated bracelet, which is so common on their sports model.
Like an oyster bracelet.
Right, it just wouldn't fit the character of a more formal dress watch like the 1908. Even solid end links might have, compromised that sense of delicate elegance.
It's about the look, the feel.
Yeah, creating a specific visual harmony.
Right.
And as the reviewer points out, it likely helps with comfort, too.
Right.
They describe the bracelet as being very comfortable despite the reassuring heft of the solid gold.
You'd feel that weight for sure.
Oh, yeah. Of course, they also mention the slight anxiety that comes with wearing a fully mirror-polished gold bracelet. The potential for scratches is definitely a consideration. You'd have to be careful.
Absolutely. That's something you'd have to be mindful of. Now, gold bracelets can sometimes be seen as quite bold, like flashy even. But the review specifically contrasts the Settimo with flashy and ostentatious gold bracelets. What's the key difference here, do you think?
I think that comparison to a vintage jewelry bracelet is crucial.
Okay.
It suggests something more nuanced, less overtly attention-seeking. It's designed to beautifully complement the warmth of the yellow gold case, enhance that retro feel they're going for.
Right.
And it's interesting how the reviewer notes that the dial design, which is relatively clean, uncluttered,
that's so.
that actually helps to balance the visual impact of all that gold. It prevents it from being overwhelming.
Good point. Speaking of the dial, we should definitely touch on the options. There are two, right? Intense white and intense black. The review we have here focuses mainly on the white dial. Describes it as having a lovely, radiant, luminous presence.
It sounds very appealing.
What are some of the key design elements on that dial?
Well, it pretty much echoes the elegant design language we saw on the other 1908s.
So the applied gold Arabics.
Yeah, those applied yellow gold numerals at the cardinal points 3, 9, 12, paired with very elegant faceted baton hour markers in between.
Okay.
And then there's that classic peripheral railway-style minutes track.
Ah, timeless detail.
Very traditional watchmaking. And that same delicate railway track motif is used again on the recessed small second subdial down at 6, creates a nice visual consistency.
Right, ties it together. And the hands themselves are quite distinctive, aren't they?
They are. You've got that beautifully curved Breguet-style hand for the hours and a slender sword-shaped hand for the minutes. Both gold, both faceted, mirror-polished.
Again, playing with the light.
Exactly. It's all about how they interact with light, adding those subtle moments of visual interest.
Okay, let's talk case. It's clearly designed with classic proportions in mind.
Definitely. 39mm diameter. Very versatile, wearable size.
And the lugs are quite short.
Yeah, lug to lug is just 45.2mm, so it should sit comfortably on a wide range of wrists.
And thin, too.
Very thin. 9.50mm profile. That's a hallmark of a proper dress watch, isn't it?
Should slip right under a cuff.
Effortlessly.
And those refined touches, they aren't just on the dial and bracelet, are they? The review mentions fluting.
Right. Delicate fluting on the bezel, the crown, and even the case back.
Okay.
It speaks to a consistent level of meticulous finishing throughout the whole watch.
So while the look definitely nods to the past,
very vintage-inspired.
what's inside is, well, resolutely modern.
Absolutely. The automatic caliber 7140 is described as being packed with contemporary tech.
Packed with tech.
It makes you wonder about the balance Rolex is trying to strike here, Vintage aesthetics, but cutting-edge mechanics.
And it's quite significant that this movement, the 7140, was developed specifically for the Perpetual 1908.
That is significant. Rolex doesn't often create entirely new calibers,
Right.
so that really underscores the importance they're placing on this model within their lineup.
Yeah, it feels like a serious commitment to this style.
Indeed. And what's particularly noteworthy is the exhibition caseback.
Oh, yeah. You can see the movement.
You can, which I believe is a first for a non-Daytona Rolex model in the current collection.
Wow. Okay, so what can you see?
Well, it lets you view the workings. Features like the anti-magnetic silicon hairspring.
Resists magnetic fields, it improves accuracy.
Exactly. They're Paraflex shock absorbers for better robustness.
Mm-hmm.
The efficient chronergy escapement, which optimizes energy transfer.
Right.
And of course, the beautifully finished gold perpetual rotor that drives the automatic winding.
Very nice. And for the practical side, power reserve.
Very respectable, 66 hours.
Okay, so nearly 3 days. You
Yeah.
could take it off Friday evening.
It'd still be ticking Monday morning. Yep.
Handy.
Of course, all this craftsmanship, the gold, the new movement, it comes at a price.
Ah, yes, the cost.
The review points out a pretty substantial price difference. The yellow gold 1908 on leather is around, what, 25,300 euros?
Yeah, roughly.
And this all-gold Settimo model, it jumps to 35,900 euros.
Oof, that's a big jump. Over 10,000 euros more.
It's a considerable premium.
So the big question then, according to the reviewer, is that Settimo bracelet truly worth that extra investment? What's their take on the value proposition?
The reviewer seems pretty emphatic, actually.
Right.
Yeah, they conclude that the Settimo bracelet elevates this to the most accomplished and desirable Rolex Perpetual 1908 model.
High praise?
Very high praise. They even suggest that if they had the money, this is the version they'd choose. Maybe even get it engraved.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty compelling endorsement of the bracelet's impact then.
It really is. They seem convinced it makes the watch.
So to kind of wrap this up, it sounds like the Rolex Perpetual 1908 with the Settimo bracelet isn't just, another new watch.
No, it's more than that.
It's a very deliberate statement. A fusion of vintage-inspired design with all the modern watchmaking tech.
Mm-hmm.
And that meticulously crafted gold bracelet is clearly the star. Completely transforms the watch's presence.
It's certainly a fascinating direction for Rolex, isn't it? Delving deeper into these more classically elegant styles.
Yeah.
And doing it with such a, stunningly executed gold bracelet. It definitely challenges some of the usual perceptions people might have about the brand.
That it's all about sports watches.
Exactly. That it's only focused on robust sports models. This is something different.
Absolutely. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? When you consider this blend of history and modern craft and that significant price tag,
Mm-hmm.
what does a piece like this truly represent? Beyond just telling the time, is it purely personal style? Is it about appreciating watchmaking history? Or maybe something else entirely?
It's a complex mix.
Yeah. What factors would you weigh most carefully before making a decision like that? Let's have something to ponder.